as an animal photographer, sometimes I need to have my client, my dog, on a leash in order to get the image that I'm looking for. This is usually a last resort for me, not because it's terrible or anything, but just it adds a little bit of extra work in order to take the leash out of the image. But luckily there is a very simple and easy way to do this. And so I'm going to show you guys today a couple of the methods that I might use in order to remove a leash from an image. And also my background's a little bit narrow for my shots when I have multiple dogs or a full body dog. And so I'll show you how I fill in the background really easily. I don't know why I don't just buy another background, but anyway, this is what we're doing right now. So let's jump into the screen and I will show you a couple of easy techniques in order to remove a leash from an image with a dog wearing a leash. A dog image, yeah, you got it. Okay, so here we are in our image. This is Sunny and Juju. I don't honestly remember which one is which. I apologize. But one of them, I think this one is Sunny and this one's Juju. One of them is wearing a leash in this image. I believe they were just a little excitable and we wanted to get a picture of the two of them together. And so in order to get this sort of quote unquote kissing shot, we had to have one of them, Juju, I believe, on a leash. So here we go. This is the raw image and we're just going to do a couple of quick fixes in order to get it to a much neater place in order to start our actual final edits. So the first thing, when I come into Photoshop, this is usually how my screen is set up, so that you have to move these bars in order to move the image around. I hate that. So the first thing I do is I hit F in order to change my full screen mode, and then that allows me to just move the image around using the trackpad and 2 fingers. Then if you hit F again, it'll take it to full screen with a black bar or black background behind it. So sometimes I'll do this to showcase an image, and if I need to just see it clean without my toolbars distracting me. F again will cycle you back through to the bars, and then here we are again in the center. So there's 3 different options there, just in case you get lost in this world of hitting F. So that's just a personal preference. So I'm going to move the image around a little, make it a bit bigger, kind of come in closer on the base of the leash here at their head. So, and then I'm going to duplicate the background layers. So to duplicate the background layer, I'm going to hit Command J on my keyboard, and then that is going to create an exact duplicate of my background. I do this because you really don't want to be messing with your background layer ever. You just want to leave it be, so that if you mess up somehow, you can always go back to square one and you haven't permanently changed the raw image. And also the tool that we're going to be using today, we need to have the full background data in the layer that we're using. So that's why I duplicate this layer in order to do this small fix. So yeah, let's get started. So first thing we'll need is our lasso tool, which is up here. It's the 3rd one down on your toolbar, or you can simply hit L on your keyboard in order to select the lasso tool. If you come into the lasso and one of these other 2 tools is currently selected, all you have to do is hold down the actual square on the toolbar and the hidden tool selections will come up underneath it. Or let's say we're on polyagonal, wow, I shouldn't have chosen that one, lasso, and we need to change through it. We can just simply hold down L or Shift and then hit L in order to cycle through until we're at the lasso tool that we need. I really need to make these go away and I don't know how. Okay. So let's come over here to their head and come in a little closer. And I just personally really like the loose lasso tool. I've got a pretty steady hand on the trackpad, so I just start my selection here. And then I'm just going to slowly follow through and kind of make a full selection. The only thing I'm looking at is where it touches her head. And then to add to that, I hold down Shift. My little plus sign shows up at the bottom of the square. And then once I start the selection, I can let go of Shift, continue to move across her head, and then again, just add to the selection. So now we've covered her entire head. I can back up and I can just hit Shift again. And I only need to go up to where the selection ended on the last one in order to add to it, and voila. So now that we have our selection made, I'm going to hit Shift Delete in order to bring up my fill tool. I believe that is also located under the Edit tab, and there it is, Edit Fill. But I really recommend learning your key commands, so Shift Delete. If it doesn't come up where Content Aware is available, you just hold down the drop down menu and you go in until content aware is selected and you grab that. You want everything else, color adaptation, normal, 100%, all that's great. Hit OK. And voila. So the computer has basically taken what it thinks it should fill this area with based on what's located around it. So there you go. So that's pretty good. We're going to hit Command D in order to deselect that. And we're going to come down a little closer. And you can see it sort of created like a fake bump on her head that wasn't there. I did this a minute ago and my computer died partway through, and I did the exact same thing and the computer did a way better job, but whatever, we'll fix this. So in order to fix this, because it's a small area, I'm going to grab my stamp tool, which is this one right here. Key command is just, and if you ever forget your key commands, by the way, you can utilize these annoying things that pop up because it tells you right there what your key command is. So you just hit S in order to bring your stamp tool up, and then you can right click on your keyboard. I'm going to keep my hardness at a mid hardness. Like I said, I just did this a minute ago, so I kind of have it set where I wanted it. And the reason I have it set to semi hard edging is because we're going to be going right up against her head, and I don't want it to be super fluffy and I don't want it to be super harsh either. So there you go, in the middle. You can make your tool larger or smaller by just hitting your left or right bracket buttons on the keyboard. So I'm going to bring it down a little bit. Sample from over here by hitting Option and then clicking where you want to sample from. And then you can see where the plus sign is where you're sampling from. So you don't want to go into your own pre-sampled area. And then I'm going to grab from this side and do the same thing. Don't be in a rush with this. There's really like no point. I mean, I could be lazy and rush through this just because I've been doing it for 20 years, but there's no real reason to, especially when you're first learning. Just take your time with it. It's kind of fun. And that's pretty good. We're like super zoomed in right now, so no one's ever really going to be looking at it this closely anyway. So yeah, then we're going to back up. And there you go. No more leash. That's a little sloppy. So I'm actually going to take my lasso tool and I'm going to do the same thing we did earlier, just further away from her head. Shift delete. There we go. That smoothed that out a lot more. So sometimes I'll double up on it. Okay, so surprise, surprise, we're going to use the exact same tool in order to fill it in the sides and see how well it does, and then we can tweak and make some little adjustments if the computer doesn't do great at it. So just a much bigger, looser lasso this time. I'm going to cover that big shadow on the side, come all the way around the crinkle in the paper, and then I'm just going to hit Shift Delete. Content aware is fine. Hit OK. And that did a pretty great job. Command D to deselect the selection. Then I come in on the other side. Make sure you're grabbing, not just the missing background, but you can see how the paper curves in here and creates a highlight. So we want that to Shift Delete. Make sure content aware is selected. Hit OK. And there you go. I didn't even have to fix anything because the computer did a great job. So that's as simple as it is. I mean, I would go in and do several other edits to this photo to finalize it, but for our purposes today, this is just to show you guys how you can use the lasso tool and the content aware in your fill option in order to get rid of unwanted image parts of the image. You could also have taken the entire leash out with just the stamp tool. And you can also use the healing tool to start the process and then fill in with the stamp tool and vice versa. So there's tons of different options. I mean, there's probably 100 other options outside of those as well, but that's the one that I find is the fastest. And because I know that I'm done with those layers and I don't need them anymore, the last and final thing I would do is to flatten this layer down, which you can go under these three little lines here and you can go to flatten image. Or you can see that merge down is Command E, and since I only have 2 layers, I would just do Command E. Now I have one background layer, and I've made my file size a lot smaller because I don't have that doubled up background. And so there you have it. Now it's ready to re-import back into Lightroom and to finish all of my final edits on. So I hope that was helpful for you today. And yeah, hopefully I'll be back on here with some more tips soon.